If the early 2020s can be summed up in one sentence for the automotive industry, it would be the return of iconic nameplates like the Ford Bronco, Chevrolet Blazer, Acura Type S, and I'm pretty sure there's other vehicles on the market that I've completely forgotten about over the last 2 years that are really bringing back some great memories, and also I think a lot of buyers are really excited about having back on the market. And the Land Rover Defender is certainly one of them. Now, of course, we have not had a Defender here in the US in over 25 years, while other markets have enjoyed their rugged off-roaders. But it only seems right that with Americans really enthusiastic about off-road experiences and taking on the elements, that Land Rover would give us a vehicle that can do everything. Not only one that can take on deep snow, some mud, the off-road trails, but also be a vehicle that's going to draw in a lot of attention on the road and be a luxury crossover at the same time. It can be very difficult to try finding a vehicle that truly compares to what the Land Rover Defender offers, especially at this price range, because a lot of the traditional rivals just aren't in this market yet or have left the market entirely to go more upscale, like even a G-Wagon. One vehicle that keeps popping up though in the conversations is the Ford Bronco. And unfortunately, with the dealer markups and with the car shortages, you're looking at spending probably $70,000 if not more. But today we're taking a look at a base model Land Rover Defender, which comes in at a starting price of just over $50,000. And really that should surprise a lot of people, especially with what you have here. I mean, look at the size of this thing. It makes you look really small. But I gotta be honest, even though it is basic, even if it is a base model, it's going to give you everything you're looking for, and that's why I am here to fully experience what Land Rover has done to this vehicle and if it truly is a real successor to the last generation. Now, before I get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to my good friend Asa for giving me the keys to his Land Rover Defender. He is the owner of Squad Driven, which is a car enthusiast focused brand up here in the Boston area. He hosts car rallies throughout the year for charity, and also he hosts other car events in the area for us to congregate and come together for a good cause. But the reason why I am here is because this year he has expanded to becoming a car rental company where you can actually rent this Land Rover Defender that I am standing next to among some other great vehicles like an Audi R8 and Jaguar F-Type. I'll leave all the links in the description below so you can check out their website, you can check out what charities he works with, and also see what vehicles he has in his inventory. Also, before we get started, make sure to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live on the channel. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. The Land Rover Defender nameplate is synonymous with off-road adventuring. And if you grew up in the 90s, your favorite wildlife TV presenter was probably using one to traverse the various terrain to get up close with animals. Interestingly enough though, it's been 25 years since we've seen a new Defender here in the US. And in that time, Land Rover went from offering rugged and fun SUVs to being seen as a luxury brand that usually draws in celebrities and professional athletes. With Americans rediscovering their love for the outdoors and taking on the elements, iconic names like the Ford Bronco have made a return. And it only seems right that Land Rover would do the same with the Defender, to rekindle what this British manufacturer has lost over the last 2 decades. By going back to their roots, they're attracting both old and new buyers. And besides the off-road capability and long list of features, there's one eye-catcher that's received the most attention, and that is the starting cost. For 2022, the Land Rover Defender 110 comes in with a base price of just under $52,000, making it the third most affordable vehicle in the lineup. But also thanks to the markups consumers are experiencing with the Bronco, it just might be a more affordable alternative. In typical Land Rover fashion, there's many options available to allow you to customize the Defender, not only aesthetically but mechanically as well, where you can opt for a 2-door if you so desire. But from a practicality standpoint, the 110 will make the most sense. With off-road capability being the metric that will define this vehicle, you'll have up to 11.5 inches of ground clearance to ford through water and take on snow-covered paths or roads. Being a product of the 2020s, the Defender takes on a bold and brand new appearance. While Americans may have waited 25 years, Other markets continued receiving this rugged vehicle well into the mid-2010s. And yet, even with the less than traditional and quite frankly controversial design, the Defender has quickly gained a cult following of avid enthusiasts, which in turn has made Land Rover's recent addition to the lineup not only desirable, but one of the coolest vehicles on sale today. As we're going to find out real quick when we take a look at the interior, there is nothing basic about this Defender, as LED headlights do come standard, and for models with air suspension, those lights are upgraded to auto leveling. Even with its modern appearance, there's still a sense of durability that's going to inspire confidence in owners to take on terrain besides pavement, while at the same time doubling as a premium luxury SUV if you opt for a well-equipped trim. Moving over to the side profile, our model is sitting on 18-inch gloss white steel wheels, which are going to be more suitable if you're going on adventures. Despite its rugged and off-road nature, the Defender is built on a unibody chassis, and compared to its predecessor, it has a fully independent suspension. With this model having air suspension, the ride height is adjustable, and more importantly, the Defender can be daily driven, where Monday through Friday it's a comfortable commuter, and on the weekends you're hitting the trails to get some mud on that paint. Standard will be heated and power folding side mirrors to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. Then as you make your way to the back, the Defender stays true to its heritage with the iconic squared off rear fascia. But now with modern aesthetics like the LED taillights, there's a cool factor that's linked to the cosmetics of this SUV, rather than just what it's capable of mechanically. A rear-mounted tire will allow you to continue on your journey if you encounter a flat. But what I can truly appreciate about this new generation Defender is that Land Rover didn't cheapen the design by going overboard with the plastic cladding, like we see with most off-road vehicles, and instead there's the right amount of protection while still retaining its upscale road presence. Under the hood, the base Land Rover Defender is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that puts out 296 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. If it's speed and performance you're looking for, upgrading to the inline 6 is going to be the better decision, especially if you plan on towing a boat or going off-road. However, with this powertrain, a 0 to 60 time of around 7 seconds is going to be enough to safely enter highways. Of course, all-wheel drive will come equipped on all Defenders, so you're ready for whatever Mother Nature throws at you the minute you drive off the lot. For fuel economy, you're looking at right around 17 miles per gallon in the city, and 20 miles per gallon on the highway. Stepping inside, you're greeted by 8-way semi-power adjustable heated cloth seats for both the driver and passenger on the base model, which will likely be the better choice if you intend on tracking in dirt and snow with you when hitting the trails. While you're not going to have the softest touch materials, the interior is quite comfortable and accommodating. Even better, for a base Defender, it's well equipped when it comes to technology, as you have a full digital gauge cluster that showcases a variety of information, and it's here where you can display the navigation map, so you don't have to look over to the infotainment system. Speaking of the head unit, 2022 models will come standard with a high quality and easy to use touchscreen, with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. And our model today has the upgraded Meridian sound system to amplify the audio of your favorite music. Despite not being the most in-depth user interface, this screen is home to all the settings and features you're looking for when going off-road. Very impressive for its price point is the camera systems and parking assist features equipped on the Defender, as you have both on and off-road modes, providing a top view and 3D surround views, inspiring confidence when maneuvering this SUV around in tight locations. Below, you'll find the buttons and dials for the dual-zone climate control, air suspension, low-range transfer case, traction control, and auto start-stop. There will also be a knob for the volume found on the far right. By having the gear shifter on the dashboard itself, that opens up the center console to offer a good amount of storage space for small items. And you'll also have a USB and USB-C inputs and a 12-volt outlet. Conveniently placed between the front seats is a wireless phone charging pad. And to round out the front seating area, the center storage compartment can fit a good amount of items. And even for the base Defender, it can be upgraded to be refrigerated if you want to keep bottled drinks nice and cool. Now for passengers in the back, we're going to start off on the passenger side. And this seat is adjusted further back. It's also somewhat on a recline. And of course, I have plenty of legroom to work with here. If you are cross-shopping this with a Jeep Wrangler or a Ford Bronco, you're going to find that interior space is pretty much on par with those two vehicles. And in my opinion, it might be a little bit better than the Ford Bronco, but I'll get into that later in this video. Now, since we have a higher roof line, I do think that if you have people around the height of 5'10" and above, they will be able to sit back here pretty comfortably. And I can say that with a lot of confidence. And I don't normally say that for vehicles, but this is certainly conducive for a family, but also a group of friends who are going on some outdoor adventures and possibly going off-roading. So this is really great to see. Now, for the center seat, there is somewhat of a center hump, which is going to play a role in how much legroom that you do have here. I do think, though, that if you do have an average-sized adult, they should be fine, especially for me at around 5'5". I'm not really claustrophobic or cramped here, especially when it comes to shoulder room. It's a good amount of it. However, though, you are sitting in somewhat of a ball, and the center seat does sit a bit lower than the outboard seat. So certainly keep that in mind, that if you do have 3 passengers in the back, you want to have that smallest person in the center. And then on the driver's side, I adjusted the seat to someone of my height, around 5'5", and I have plenty of legroom to work with here. In fact, I can just sit back, relax, recline, and let my driver deal with the traffic and the horrible drivers out there on the road, and I can just enjoy the driving experience in the long ride to wherever I'm going. But this is really great to see, and for a base model, this isn't that bad at all. Especially since we have cloth seats, I still think they provide a good amount of comfort. Also back here, you will have 2 rear air vents to go along with 3-level heated outboard seats. Not bad for a base model. Also, 2 12-volt outlets, 2 USB-C inputs. And unfortunately, there's no center armrest with 2 cup holders, which I know is going to disappoint you if you are a long-time subscriber. But you will have a cup holder on the door panel. So I guess all is well for the second row. Now, coming around to the back, of course, you're not going to have a power liftgate with this vehicle being a Defender. It just wouldn't be right, wouldn't be very traditional at all. Also, of course, with the tailgate, you can really throw things in here and take them out very easily because it opens nice and wide. Now, when it comes to rear cargo space, you're looking at right around 34 cubic feet of room to work with, which is going to be on par with the Ford Bronco and also the Jeep Wrangler. I was able to fit all my camera gear back here with no problem. I'd be able to do my food shopping as well, and also I could throw in some other items if I was going on a weekend getaway. Now, I do think that if you are going on a road trip with the family, you'll easily be able to fit all the luggage that you're going to need on that trip. Now, with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right around 79 cubic feet of room, which is pretty much on par with 3-row SUVs. And in fact, you can opt for that third row, but in my opinion, I do think having just the 5-seater model is more than adequate. Then on the left side of the rear cargo area, you will have 2 buttons that will lower and raise the rear suspension. So if you do have heavier items that you are storing in or taking out, you don't need to worry about that scraping the rear bumper of this vehicle. So that's really great to see. But what I love about the Defender is that it's all around practical. So yes, it has the capability, but also it's spacious enough where you can load up the kids, load up some friends, and just have a great weekend with some good people. So now on the road in the 2022 Land Rover Defender, and I've actually had the opportunity to experience this vehicle for about 45 minutes or so as I'm on my way up to the North Shore of Massachusetts, and there's a lot to digest here. And in fact, I'm still learning and getting acclimated with this vehicle, because for an SUV of this size and with its off-road capability, this is one of the most comfortable vehicles I have ever driven in this segment. Compared to a Ford Bronco, compared to a Jeep Wrangler, I would even say you could kind of compare this to a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, but that might be a bit of a stretch there. But just because of its off-road capability when it comes to that ruggedness, I think you could probably throw that in there, especially now where if you don't really want to spend over $100 grand, you can go with a Land Rover Defender and save a lot of money. But there's a few things that really stand out to me from the driving experience aspect. One being is that on the highway, it rides really nice. It's really comfortable and soft. And a lot of people do complain about the road noise. Now that could be because they have the bigger tire size and we're on the 18s, which are wrapped in Michelin tires, which could be playing a huge role in just the lack of that road noise, but also the softness of the ride quality. Another thing that really stands out to me as well with the driving dynamics, and mostly when it comes to the interior of this vehicle as you're driving it, it feels a lot bigger than the Ford Bronco. And I'm not exactly sure why, because if you subtract the rear tire, the dimensions are pretty much the same when it comes to length and width. And yet I feel as though this vehicle is significantly larger. Now, I don't usually have to deal with this when I do drive vehicles all the time in this segment, but I have had to get acclimated with this SUV. Now also, I wouldn't say this is a truck. That's been tossed around quite a bit. I think because when you consider the prior generation, it was a truck. But being built on a unibody chassis, it has a crossover-like demeanor when it comes to its driving habits. And that's really where I feel that it's certainly driver-friendly in that aspect, because you're not going to get thrown around. You're not going to get abused as you're going over horrible roads that have not been paved correctly, or the imperfections, especially up here in New England. It takes these roads with ease. But also this vehicle fits the lifestyle of consumers who are going to be buying a Land Rover Defender, because if you are taking this off-road, most likely you are sipping on a Starbucks coffee. And that's exactly the type of people who are going to buy this vehicle, because it has that softness, it has that luxury aspect to it, even with these cloth seats. And it has that ability where you can drive it Monday through Friday, commute to work, drive in the city, and then on the weekends you can go off-road. You can, take on the elements. And that's one thing that I think the Ford Bronco is lacking. And I understand that it might be a bit of a stretch to compare both vehicles, although I think now with the dealer markups, and actually Asa, who owns this vehicle, was looking at a Bronco, but it was just out of budget. When you look at spending $25,000 to $30,000 over a sticker, it becomes a bit of an issue there and just not reasonable, where I think Land Rover isn't really marking these vehicles up as much. So when you're looking at spending around $60,000, $65,000, it becomes a bit more reasonable in that way. And really, this to me is a better option, just because of how comfortable it is. And even when it comes to the steering input, the steering is nice and smooth, very direct, and it's just that refinement, that quality. It's truly a Land Rover for sure. And if you are looking for that luxury aspect, you're looking for that luxury daily driving, and you're looking for a vehicle that can take on 6 inches of snow or go off-road, then the Defender can do that. It's actually balancing both quite well. And it's become a very cool vehicle to own in 2021. Now, there really isn't a lot out there on the turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Everyone seems to be reviewing the 6-cylinder. And yes, I do think that in certain situations, like on the highway or, coming from a stop and you want to get to speed pretty quickly, having that inline 6 is going to be the better decision. But if you're looking for a Defender on a budget and you want to have a vehicle that might not be as loud in the cabin, a little more softer as well, then the 4-cylinder is going to be the way to go. And actually, it does get up to speed in a decent manner. Obviously, 0 to 60 times around 7 seconds, if not more, but I wasn't really begging for power on the highway, and that's not really where this vehicle is designed to be on at 100% of the time. It's meant to be driven on back roads, or even, on dirt roads, or anything that's not paved. But also when it comes to that cornering, speaking of being on back roads, which I am on, you certainly feel the body roll. When you're on tight corners, I have very little confidence that this thing can take even the slightest of corners at around 40 miles an hour. I do tend to slow down quite a bit, just because it's certainly top heavy. But for maneuverability purposes, it's pretty nice though. I think you could certainly drive on tight roads like this in the beautiful part of Massachusetts and New England. And then also, I think you can certainly drive this in the city for sure. Although what I will say though, is that when it comes to the A-pillars, they do create some blind spots in certain corners. So keep that in mind for sure. Now, when it comes to seating position, you do sit pretty high up. And really, even though these are not leather seats, I do like them. They're actually pretty comfortable. And then with the side mirrors, they are placed in a good spot. You do have blind spot detection and you can see what's behind you. Now also, since we do have the spare mounted on this Defender, it will create a bit of a blind spot. You really can't see as much, but Land Rover has you covered there because you will have a digital rear view mirror, and that way you can see everything behind you. But when it comes to shoulder room, you do have plenty of it as well. And on the road, even in these tight roads here, I can definitely keep it in its lane. I don't feel like, oh, am I getting too close to the edge of the road? Am I getting too close to the wrong side of the road? It's not a vehicle where you're going to be sitting there and being very tentative and hesitant behind the wheel. And it's one that you will get very acclimated with pretty quickly. But honestly though, I think ultimately the ride quality is what's really standing out to me the most, because compared to its closest competitors or vehicles that are off-road worthy that people seem to be comparing with now, like the Wrangler, like the Ford Bronco, this to me is certainly more family friendly, but also, dare I say, a bit more inspiring to drive as well, even with the 4-cylinder. It takes the bumps so well with the air suspension, but also on these tighter back roads, you can kind of throw it around too, especially at lower speeds around 30 miles an hour. You're not really going to get lulled or fall asleep behind the wheel for sure. It's pretty fun. I'm actually really enjoying this vehicle for sure. Gotta go to the most beautiful scenes in Rockport, and that is right along the ocean on what really is somewhat of a dirt road. So let's see how this handles it. Got to do some light off-roading. And I mean, this isn't anything that most enthusiasts are going to be like, oh, he's going, you know, way off-road. But this is still taking the bumps, taking on the rocks really well. It's doing everything that you could hope for. Got some ruts coming up here. Takes it like a champ. Very nice, very nice. Now, of course, you guys are probably laughing like, oh, that's barely off-road, but still, takes the roads really nicely. Ultimately, if you're looking for a vehicle that's going to have a sporty and an exhilarating experience, the 4-cylinder isn't the way to go. You're going to want to choose and opt for the inline 6. However, if you're looking for a daily driver that can do everything that you're looking for, give that practicality, that family friendliness, and also a vehicle that is capable of any situation and elements that you throw at it, then the 4-cylinder is certainly going to be a great option, especially at its price point. But also, I think this particular spec is perfect for anybody that's really willing and able to fully experience this vehicle. Because with the steel wheels, with the cloth seats, even with the interior materials, you're not going to stress out about getting this car dirty or even scraping the wheels. So that's where I feel that the Defender and this particular model and trim is going to appeal to somebody who is more adventurous for sure. But also, even though it is a base model, it has a good amount of technology. So you have a modern experience, you have a vehicle that is going to give you everything you're looking for in 2021. And really, I don't know what else you could really ask for. Maybe if you are power hungry, you're going to want to go with the inline 6. But outside of that, I'm not really sitting here desiring more. And I'm usually the type of person that wants to have the leather seats, that wants to have the most comfortable experience. And yet, I think what this trim is providing is more than enough. So in closing, what are my final thoughts for the 2022 Land Rover Defender? And to be honest, for the first time ever on this channel, I'm not desiring a well-equipped model. I'm not desiring a vehicle with all the bells and whistles. And also, I don't feel as though that what I just did today with this vehicle that I need the inline six. Now, of course, if I was going off-roading, if I was doing all the activities that this vehicle was designed for, then the inline six would certainly be the better decision, just because if you are towing, you're going to need that extra power, like that guy who was towing his Subaru WRX race car, which I had to give him a thumbs up on. But when it comes to the base model Land Rover Defender, if you can call it that, it's certainly well equipped. You have a full digital gauge cluster, a nice infotainment system. Also, of course, you have the Meridian sound system on this particular model, the cold weather package. You have all the essentials and the necessities to make this vehicle really worth its price at around $60,000. Now, Asa, who owns this SUV, was originally looking at buying a Ford Bronco. Now, I don't think it's fair to try comparing both vehicles because the Ford Bronco is designed to be a Jeep Wrangler competitor. I don't necessarily think the Defender was ever supposed to be a comparable option to the Ford Bronco. However, at this price point, thanks to the dealer markups and, Ace was looking at buying one, he couldn't justify spending $85,000 for one. And base model Land Rover Defender made more of a reasonable choice, and I think it was actually a better decision overall for what this vehicle is going to be used for. Since it is built on a unibody chassis and it has air suspension, it's a comfortable daily driver. You're not going to get beat up on the roads. You're not going to get really tired of driving this vehicle around. In fact, on the highway, I really enjoy it. I can't wait to go back and drop this vehicle off, because that means I have to go on the highway and other roads. I can just continue driving this vehicle around. It's one that I actually have really enjoyed for the entire day. And a lot of off-roaders, for me personally, I'm not into, but this is something that I think a lot of non-traditional off-roading buyers would love, but also I think traditional Land Rover owners are going to be really drawn in by, because it gives you that capability, that utility, and that off-road durability, but it has the comfort aspect that we see with other Land Rover models. So the fact that we have some of the creature comforts like a full digital gauge cluster, nice infotainment system. I also like the dashboard layout as well, and also heated rear seats, heated front seats, and also a rear view mirror that's digital. I just think that what this SUV is providing at around $60,000 is one of the best values right now, especially with the pricing situation for most vehicles due to the car shortage. But I just think that what the Land Rover Defender offers in this particular trim is quite a lot, and certainly exceeded my expectations. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.